What if the reason that you're stuck isn't strategy, but identity? In this episode of the E-commerce Alley podcast, Josh sits down with Dr. Mark Matthews. He has a PhD in psychology and is a high-performance coach. And the conversation goes somewhere that most entrepreneurs avoid. They talk about the difference between achievement and fulfillment, how to frame every problem as a good thing, and how an addiction to something that may seem harmless, like work, can hurt other parts of your life. Mark shares the actual definition of an addiction, which is the progressive narrowing of what brings you joy. And this is really interesting because if you don't find joy in every aspect of your life, you will struggle to find fulfillment. In this episode, we're going to unpack why founders struggle to sit still, why your nervous system might be trained for chaos, and how 3 simple identity words can completely reshape your relationships, your leadership, and your life. So if you care about performance, leadership, and being someone worth following, this episode might challenge you. Let's get into it.
I have Dr. Mark Matthews, and he is a high-performance coach and a PhD in psychology. He's focused primarily on foundational principles of identity and social influence, like how we grow, how we lead, and he helps entrepreneurs achieve and sustain and multiply their business and their life efforts by improving and really elevating their standards, identity, and their nervous system capacity to so performance becomes repeatable and you don't get burned out with that. And so Mark, welcome to the podcast, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, man. And I just have to put it back to you and just say you've been someone I've watched, right? We're from the same hometown, and I have watched you lead by example in so many different ways. And it's been a huge inspiration to me because I recognize that while I spend a lot of time studying success and helping people with it, you have been on the ground building it brick by brick, often without a lot of help at times. And so I just want to put it back and say I'm so grateful to be here with you, and I just love being in your presence, man.
It's so it's kind of interesting. We both came from a very small town of Ashland, Ohio. We joke, we're like, hey, it's so small, even the cows get to vote here, because we're like in the middle of nowhere, cornfields all over the place. And now you went to the big city, so now you're in the big city of Columbus down south of us. And it's kind of interesting because you took the path of you went and you got your PhD. And I took the path of I went to school for 9 weeks and then I was like, peace. I'm going to figure this out as I go. But what's so cool to me is like, I've been able to watch you from afar in this stuff that you've done. And I've loved to see the growth that you have being a high performance coach and being able to, like, first of all, you have this like actual paper backed, research backed like credibility with you, which is so cool to see. But then to also see that our circles are now beginning to overlap, like the world of that you're in, like high performance mindset, who you are, becoming the best version of yourself, like that whole world I love, and I love personal development, and it's so cool to see like our worlds are intertwining, and I've been really challenged by you. And so the reason I actually, for anyone listening, I wanted Dr. Matthews to come on here and talk to all of us because I had him at an event. We did an event and you came to the event, and your fiance Bridget was at the event. She's super awesome, by the way. She's like such a light and such an energetic human being, and perfect match for you. I mean, no doubt about that. But you guys came and I had you at an event that we had done. And you delivered this session, and it was so eye-opening and so different than anything I had ever done or been a part of, truthfully. And the way that you got me thinking it was like unlocking these parts of my brain that I'm like, I've never thought about things like this before. And it was almost like an emotional, because we hung out with you the day before, and then there was the day of the thing, and like it was almost like this emotional thing for me because of some of the questions you asked me. But it really started making me realize like there's so much more than just doing the stuff. And I think that so many entrepreneurs, myself included, get in this mode of like, I have to consume all of this knowledge and I have to do. And it's all tactical and strategy and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, there's something inside us that has to be unlocked to go to the next level. And you do that with people. And so I wanted to bring you on because I want anyone listening to this to be able to think differently and unlock something, or at least get the seed planted in their mind that something can be unlocked that maybe they didn't realize could be unlocked. And I don't think there's anyone I could bring on better than you that could probably help that happen. Does that sound fun?
That's not only fun, it's literally what I live for, and I'm so glad. So let's get into it. I'm very excited. And to anybody who's listening here, you know, I've had the pleasure of watching Josh from afar as well. And just to speak to, I'm grateful for you listening, because this is what changed my life. I've probably been through thousands and thousands of podcasts, distant mentors, books. From where we came from, I didn't have direct access to the people who helped me think in the way I do now. And so this is where I started to enhance my perspective. And so I'm grateful. My hope is by the end of this podcast that anybody who listens, their perspective is enhanced, that they actually were able to think differently in a meaningful way that allows them to grow and develop fully into all they're capable of.
Let's freaking do it.
Let's go.
I don't know where this is going to go, by the way. We're just going to go with it, man. We're going to go with it. I have notes in front of me. Mark's sitting here with just like a coffee and a water, and he's like just ready to dive into this because his brain is just juicing over there with so much stuff. I want to get going into this. So like when you were talking, there was something that you had, and you'd drawn out on a sticky pad that we had. You drew out on this sticky pad and I loved it because I was watching your stick figure drawings. I'm like, oh, finally someone draws the quality that I draw. Like no one can, like, that's literally, that's me up there. That's so exciting. And you're drawing everything out. And you had talked about, like, I think one of the questions you had asked was like, what is the purpose of business? I could have sworn that was one of the questions. And everyone's like saying different things and stuff like that. And you kept going like deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And a lot of it was like, well, we judge our success by achievement. And you positioned it as like, we focus so much on achievement. But there's this other component of fulfillment that often gets overlooked. And you need to get there, and there's a way to get there. And it's not just you, it's like for you, but also your team and your people, because a lot of times we focus on achievement over fulfillment. And that's just like, it's kind of like, I think of like mercenary or missionary, right? That kind of concept. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably not a surprise to people when we say fulfillment is an important part of our life. And the thing that's interesting, though, is that we get obsessed with this belief that achievement in and of itself is going to be fulfilling to us. And it's a miss. They're different games. You know, the great Tony Robbins speaks to this. There's two paths. There's the science of achievement, and then there is the art of fulfillment. And the reason it's an art is because it actually comes from what I believe we learn in humanities. When you read a great story, not just like tactical business knowledge or a little parable for business principles. Those are amazing. But a great story where you're fully immersed and it's almost like you lose yourself. What happens is you naturally start to develop parts of yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise. And fulfillment for us comes when we start to see that we can develop those parts of ourselves through whatever we're doing. You don't have to have a specific activity to develop it. The work you're doing today, coming into the office, the way you greet everybody here, the way you rally the team, the way you speak about and set up the projects, the way in which you pour yourself into your craft, right? You want to go back to a great leader on this. Jesus Christ is a good example as a carpenter, right? The way you do your work, the way you think about your work, the way you sell your work to others on what it actually is, that allows you to grow and deepen and develop. And when you do that, in accordance with your values, you experience this inner fulfillment. All of a sudden, you might get tears filming a podcast or even writing copy, not just because of what you've written, but because you recognize how you're growing, but then more importantly, how your impact on other people, how you are contributing in a whole new way because of that growth. You have a new skill. That's where the fulfillment comes from. And if you get stuck in achieving for profit alone, and that fulfillment, the actualization of your values, if you let that go, unfortunately, you can get an addiction to the achievement, in which you do the behavior over and over again because it brings you a level of reward, but slowly over time, you only value that for the reward it gives you. And you start to resent it later because you recognize that you missed a piece of what your life was for to develop further.
How do you identify that moment? So like, let's say I'm listening to this, and this is, what I love about this is now I can just ask all the questions as many as I want. We don't have to go around this whole room. So like, if I think of achievement, most people, I would venture to say, like, get out into, like, if I look at fulfillment and achievement, first, I think we will need to define like fulfillment to some degree. But if I look at it, most people, I'd venture to say, are achievement focused, performance focused. And we get in and we start experiencing those wins and we start achieving things. And then we find, I don't know if you could say that as fulfillment within the achievement, but you find like fulfillment and satisfaction in doing the thing and seeing the success, and the campaign is a win, the product market fit clicks, right? And you start achieving stuff in business and you keep growing. How do you identify a point in which achievement is reaching a threshold of you can't go further without some degree of fulfillment? Is there a way to identify that feeling or knowing when that hits?
This is a fantastic question, and it's why the best leaders of all time have had somebody else, right, outside of themselves, asking them the right questions so that they could ensure that fulfillment was a part of every step. You see, what I learned a long time ago, and I'll just give a little bit of a backstory, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my mom at 9 years old. She loved me more than anything in the entire world. She poured into me. She read to me every single night. She literally fused so much love into me that there's no way that I could ever feel like I was unloved. That's the gift she gave to me. But when she passed away, I watched her caring for me and my brothers in an incredible fashion, redeeming herself from absolutely terrible decisions for most of her life, and becoming someone who was even receiving awards for the caregiving she gave to the people in her life. But she was hollow inside. The achievements did nothing for her. And when I watched that, I had to ask, what's the cost of achievement without fulfillment? And the cost really is your life. For her, it was physically, right? Mm-hmm. But even before she passed, she was gone. And the same thing happened to my father, and the same thing happened to so many people around me. Their life was gone.
What do you mean by that?
Imagine that you have somebody who is, and a great example of this is, I'll use an analogy everybody can relate to. In school, you know you achieve because you get a good grade. But the problem is it's misaligned with who you're becoming. So people get really good at grades, but then they don't actually feel like they're growing, and they feel like I'm just doing it for the grade. In life, you could be doing the actions for the profit or whatever it is, but it's for an external means. Maybe it's because you can do more for your family. That's a step. Mm-hmm. But it's not for the fact that you recognize you're growing into somebody who can inspire everybody around you, that you're growing into somebody who can actually help people when the hard times really come. And not just the hard times financially, but the hard times inside of themselves, the spiritual hard times. And so the reason I bring this up is someone from the outside usually needs to be walking with you and asking you questions. It's like, hey, Josh, fantastic job on that campaign. You absolutely nailed it. I'm so glad you got the result you wanted to. But I don't know if you noticed, the entire time you were working on that campaign, you communicated frustration, and not in a positive way. You seemed to be just doing this for the achievement. And I'd like to raise that to another level, brother.
Can you identify that without somebody, do you think?
I think it's very hard. Yes, it's just really hard to do.
Are there symptoms though? Are there like common symptoms? Because I know you work with a lot of different clients. Like, are there symptoms in these high performance thinking individuals that are achievement focused? And are there things that's like, oh, the symptom is they start to just new growth. They're never content, or like, is there a symptom that someone listening could be like, I feel that now, I might be lacking this fulfillment component in my business or life right now?
I love this because I'm going to give it, yes, there's many symptoms. It's the cues I use as a coach constantly. Every day I'm working on this, right? And I want to give a caveat to this. Fulfillment operates a little bit differently than achievement. And so in achievement, you look for, okay, what's missing? What do I need to do differently? Now I can do it differently. And I get it, right? You're looking for a linear path. Fulfillment is more like, I think of it as like a flower blooming. And so for fulfillment, it's really weird, but you kind of want to step out of the achiever's mindset and you want to just ask this question, almost as if you were in stillness with God or something, and ask this question: who am I becoming? And not just ask that question of like, okay, here's some tactical things, here's what I do, but you ask that question, who am I really becoming? What's the impact that I'm having on the world? And when you ask that question, the achiever will try to identify, this is what it should be, this is the mark, like this is the KPI, am I hitting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, the answers you're looking for are more poetic. They're more a narrative of, I'm becoming someone who, and they're curious, they're exploring, but there's no right or wrong answer. And that's why it's hard for achievement. But I want to get you to the symptom. I just give that to you because if you take that frame, think of it as a creative pursuit where you don't know necessarily where you're going, but you know that you'll feel that you're going in the right direction when you're going there. And when you ask that question, who am I becoming? And all of a sudden you feel an insight shoot through you. That's when you're on it, right? Like you can even I can feel it from your face there.
So you might be able to, because I'm asking myself that question right now. So actually coach me through this. If I asked who am I becoming, my first responses are going to be something along a better husband, a better father, a better business leader, a better follower of Christ, a better human being to every capacity that I can. Like that's what my response would be. How do you tie that into a level of fulfillment that you're seeking? Like, how would you close the loop on? If I asked that and that was my response, what would you say next?
I love that because you have the direction of where you're going. And notice it's mostly better, right? It's better, not deeper. And that's okay. Deep depth might be a component. I would coach you on that. I would ask, well, what does better mean? And we get into it, right? What's that actually look like? It might be that I feel a deeper sense of presence when I look Kelsey in the eyes. Mm-hmm. Or I can create calm in my body when she's talking to me through a problem, and I can watch her stress melt in front of me. And I feel so peaceful there. When in the past, I was kind of thinking about what I had to do in the past. Now I'm just at peace. But I want to catch a piece there. You said there's symptoms. So that'd be perfect. We're aligned. Then I would look at these symptoms of, are you actually experiencing that path, that journey? And one of the symptoms that comes up a lot, you mentioned it, is that are you constantly hungry for more? And the reason this is such a challenge is because I am a big advocate of constant, never-ending growth and improvement. I think we always need to be striving for more. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, one of the ways we get more is by appreciating and honoring what's already here. And that's the piece where a very, very clear symptom that someone is lacking in fulfillment is that they're looking to the future to find it.
So what was the second question? Am I constantly seeking more? What was that second question again?
Yeah. Are they looking to the future to find it?
Okay. So because I would always say I'm always striving for more, but I find fulfillment in the day to day. So those are two different things. So you're saying that like constantly desiring more growth, whatever it is in some capacity is not bad. But if you are staking your contentment or your whatever adjective you might, I'm afraid to say words because I feel like you're gonna be like, oh, here's the better word. So if I said happiness, right, and your contentment is staked on this future version of goalposts that's constantly moving, then that's a symptom you might be struggling with fulfillment.
Absolutely. And the reason why is because fulfillment is usually experienced in the reflection of what you've been doing, but it's experienced in the present. And so a lot of times what happens is if you ask me, like I ask you, who am I becoming? And you might say these better things, but you might say things like, oh, I'm becoming someone who really enjoys everything that I have here in front of me. And not from a place of like, I enjoy it, meaning a lot of people say this, we need more joy at work. And their answer to that is, ironically, you have one upstairs and I think they're awesome, is a spinner.
Yeah.
Right? We want to make work more fun. But there's a difference between work more fun and joy at work. Joy at work is, I do the same work, because work is one of the greatest gifts we can give to the world. Our labor is an incredible gift that we give to the world. It's literally what I believe we're made for. It's not all we're made for, but it's one of the things we're made for. And so you come and bring more joy at work. That looks like you walk in and when you make that coffee in the beautiful, coffee space that you have upstairs to gather and also get yourself prepared and step into your next session or whatever you're going to do. It's like you walk in there and you're like, I'm becoming someone who is more sensitive to this beautiful opportunities that I have each day to come in. I'm more sensitive to the coffee and I'm feeling that appreciation. And the most important thing is I'll know, because if you're saying that, but it's clear on your nervous system, and you've probably seen this with all the coaching you've done, when people are talking, but you can tell there's something that's disconnected there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where I would say is your nervous system is lighting up through the things that you're talking about fulfilling, especially in the present. You're like, I'm becoming someone who, when I look at William, I'm just overtaken by joy and peace. And I'm appreciating more of how his growth is happening in front of me. And the reason this is really important is because a lot of times we think we're doing that, but the symptom, here's a simple symptom, that moment's happening and now all of a sudden you're checking your phone. Or you're checking your bank account, or you're checking your campaign. Or those moments are in front of you, but you're being drawn back to, I got to get back on the computer. I got to check this. I got to check in with the team. I have to do this. And this is important because sometimes the reason the fulfillment gets taken away from the work for a founder is because they slowly start trying to manage and control everything in the business or in the company. And as a result, they constantly keep stepping out of their life and into the building of the business.
What would you say to someone that says, I find fulfillment and joy and love in the work that I do and in the projects I complete? So I struggle with this. Like, have you ever read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell?
Absolutely.
Okay, great book, right?
Great book.
That caused me 2 years ago to hire Bree, my executive assistant. She's freaking insane. And I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? But I wouldn't have had Bree. So, all that I said, like, I outsource literally everything. And I think of like Saturdays and Sundays and evenings and all that. We have house cleaning, we have yard work, we have car maintenance, we have everything. We have food delivered to us and shopped for us. And I have outsourced as much as I possibly can in my home so that I have this free time, because I'd rather be doing my work in projects where my value is very, very high per hour than doing yard work. Ugh. And so I've done all of that, but I find myself on Saturdays or Sunday afternoons, I'm there and I'm present and I'm with Kelsey and I'm with William, and I am not used to an environment of doing nothing. And I created that environment. And then there are moments where, if I'm just being vulnerable and real, there are moments where I'm like, sometimes I would rather do yard work or do something because my brain wants to do something. And so, you know what, I might be present there, but my head is saying, there's this project for this new AI tool that we're building out and working on, and I really want to go work on this tool. It's so much fun to me. Like, I don't play video games. This is more fun than video games or watching movies. And so my brain is like, I want to do that. And so I think that sometimes I will end up in these scenarios where, Kelsey's fine. I was like, hey, I need to go work on a project. She'll say, like, sure. But a lot of times I actually just justifying, I say I have to do it when it's more of, I just want to, this is just fun to me. And so I don't know if that's a good thing or that's a bad thing, but like I have so much fun every day. I don't want the day to end, to be honest. Most of the days I'm like, I don't want this day to end. This is so much fun with our team and what we're doing. And so like, it's almost like, I don't know the word for it, but it clashes with my brain that says I love Kelsey and William and desire to spend time and have depth and presence with them. But this other side of my brain wants to do this stuff, but I don't view that stuff that I'm doing as bad because it's enjoyable and it's productive and it's valuable to the world. What do you do in that situation? How do I tame, I don't know if I need to tame my brain, if I need to reframe it or rewire it. What's your take on that? I'm not the only one. Someone listening here is like, Josh is speaking my Saturdays and Sundays and evenings right now.
This is the most important question you could, I think, ever ask in the position you're in, and I'm really grateful for it. The reason being, I identify with that too. In graduate school, I was obsessed with understanding everything psychology. I would go to 15 plus hour and a half talks per week, every talk on campus. I would be at the office every morning, weekends, in love with it. Professors who worked a lot would come and say, you should spend some time home. I'm like, I am home.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing. And in reality, the truth is that what you just nailed, and I'm going to pull up one of my favorite definitions of addiction. Addiction is the progressive narrowing of what brings you joy. This is Andrew Huberman's definition, and I think it's fantastic for this scenario.
Say that again.
Addiction is the progressive narrowing of what brings you joy. And you don't get addicted. The word you used will send people in a real destructive rationalization. Good or bad. Work is not good or bad.
Yeah.
Video games are not good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to convince yourself my joy is narrowing to is good, it brings good benefit, that's what will cause us to start to say like, so it's fine. And this happens all the time for good things. This is why some people get addicted to things that you clearly look at. You're addicted to drinking alcohol, maybe not good. But when we get addicted to work, the thing is the side effect, the cost, is the progressive narrowing of what brings us joy. The call here, I love that you put that on the table, because the call here is really to start to recognize that a couple things are happening. One, your identity, right, drives what is fulfilling to you. Because there's moments that you've probably had with Kelsey or William where you're fully present because the moment was significant and you saw your role in it. Is that right? Is there a moment you can think of with William or with Kelsey where you were fully present with them, you were not thinking about work at all?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Times we've been out and about and doing things, and it's like I don't even have my phone on me, or it's not even a thought.
This is great. So for you, that presence is powerful. It sounds to me like I hear that and I'm like, cool. You have it at the identity level. The problem here is, and I'm speaking to everybody here, because if you're in business, you run the risk of adapting your nervous system to high stimulation. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to be adapted to high stimulation. But from what you shared with me, if I had a quiet moment sitting on the couch with Bridget and all of a sudden I'm just thinking about work or what I want to do or this podcast, that tells me my nervous system, it might not be adapted to calm. Like if I asked you to spend 10 minutes in silence, how difficult would that be for you?
At one point it would be a lot harder than it is now, but it would still be tough. 10 seconds probably not hard. If you said 10 minutes, I would be like,
right?
My brain will just be thinking nonstop, and I'll be going like, bzz, 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 bzz.
Huge. And the thing is there's nothing wrong with that. And we all have a different adaptations. Some people will call that like, maybe it's ADHD, right? That's what Dan Martell used as his label. And that might be accurate. But here's the key thing. In those moments that you're there, when we cope with that discomfort of our mind moving by going to the project, by going back to work, by working on the AI thing, what we're training our brain to do is to say, this situation I'm sitting in, our nervous system, like that little beautiful spinal cord. If you've never held one, I recommend you find a place where you can, just to see what's inside you. It's interesting. But
I've never done that before.
They're wild, man. Hold a brain in your hand with the little spinal cord coming out. It is wild. But you look at it and you realize this tiny little thing is what's driving all of our emotions, all of our ability to even move. And that thing, right, the sensations that are coming in are getting, honestly, they're getting very uncomfortable when you're in the quiet moments or the simple moments. And in today's society, we say we're overstimulated, but we're not. We're addicted to high stimulation because we've adapted to that environment, and we have lost our adaptation to low stimulation environments. We can't sit still. And ironically, it's a really important skill. So to pull back for you though, simple piece. If that's what you're struggling with, which I see a lot of the people I work with struggling with that, you have to make a decision. And the decision is am I okay with that? And what are the costs if I stay here? What are the costs of your child comes to you with the same thing that they've been interested in, the same game or the same thing they've been doing, and you start to get bored with their conversation? Because that's what it really looks like. And if you're like, that's not worth it to me, I want to be able to show the same interest and feed their interest and be fully present with them and never enjoy that moment with them, even when it's simple and not that intense, and not have to push them to get interested. Just be interested in them as they are. If that's what you want, then you got to put yourself on a journey. And that's where I could give you at the end of this day a coaching plan that allows you to start developing. These are the standards I'm going to create in my life, the non-negotiables, where I'm going to condition myself to learn how to adapt to that environment and be fully present there. And then when you get it, it's amazing. I can sit and listen to Bridget for hours on end, and it's beautiful. In the past, I wouldn't have even been able to stay present for 10 minutes. I wouldn't have the relationship I have now if that were the case.
Wow. And it shows. Like we've hung with you and Bridget, and even this morning you guys are here, and you're probably one of the best listeners I've ever heard, so I could believe you when you say that. When I'm talking, your ability to listen and understand and respond thoughtfully, it's very clear to me that you have trained yourself in the things that you said you could build a coaching plan on. It makes a lot of sense because that's what you coach on. It makes sense. Like it shows, man. And it's very desirable, to be honest. Like I think about those, I have addicted myself to high stimulation, and something I actually, that I've become acutely aware of in the last couple months is my memory has started to become really bad. And I started doing a lot of research on this. And it's like when you're constantly stimulating your brain literally can only store so much that it begins to leave out things that it just doesn't deem necessary. So I'm forgetting simple conversations. I'm forgetting all kinds of stuff. Now, one thing, ironically, I never forget is anything business related. Anything business related, I do not forget. If it's marketing, if it's strategy, if it's a campaign we're building, if it's ideal customer profile, anything around marketing and business, I never forget. But it's the small things my brain purges. And something just in light of what you're saying that's starting to make sense to me is about 2 months ago, I decided, I go to the gym every morning at about 5:30, and it's a 15-minute drive. And I decided I will not listen to anything to and from the gym. And when I get back home, I will not look at my phone. And usually I'm listening to music or podcasts while I'm getting ready and showering and all that. And I was like, I will not listen to it while I get ready. So there's another 20 to 30 minutes of silence. And my memory started coming back. It was the most bizarre thing. And you're talking 30, 45 minutes a day of just peace and like being still and quiet and not. Now my brain's moving. Don't get me wrong. My brain's going like 100 miles an hour, and it's maybe it's slowed down to 92 miles an hour now. But my memory started coming back. I don't know if that's like an actual, it makes logical sense why, but I will just say that I'm not used to sitting still. I always have to overstimulate myself or be stimulated by something. And I think you're right. I've become addicted to the point where I just narrowed my view of joy is found in work and projects. And I think that I have labeled it as good. It is good when I work because people are impacted. There is positivity that happens when I get stuff done. The world shifts a little bit. Our clients' lives shift. Our team's lives shift. The market shifts. Things happen. My life shifts and our financial life shifts. So I think that I've gotten to the point where I associate work equals good. And I'm just live time thought fleshing this out. But I think that because of that, my thought is if there's moments when, Kelsey, if you're listening, I love you, but I think there's occasionally William screaming his head off, and we're both there. And and I try to help. I can't calm William down. Kelsey can come in and kind of help, and she's the one that could soothe him a lot of times. And I'm just like, you know what? Actually, there's this project that has to be done by the next hour, you know. And I'm not saying I do that very as often, but sometimes my brain goes there. I'm like, I really want to like go do this thing because there's good, and it gets me out of this painful moment or this moment that I should be present if I'm just being real about it. So how do you let's say someone listening, I have a really wild feeling that I'm not the only one who feels what I'm feeling right now, who just all we think about is work, and we say it's good. It's not a bad thing because when I do stuff, we grow, our family's life changes, our clients' life changes, our customers or our team. If someone's listening and they're saying that, and they constantly have clients that tell me I can't not work every single day of the week. I have clients that tell me that. And I'm like, I don't, but I know what you mean because I just force myself not to, but I still desire to. What is like a first thing, a step, something that could start putting me on a path of my life does not equal work and there's fulfillment I could find outside of that?
I love this. The first thing that I would do is I would adopt if you love work, right? That means that you also want to be as effective as you possibly can be at work now and in the future. Is that correct?
And in everything that I do.
Let's go. I'm about to, here's the sales lesson. Watch this. This is sales and coaching 101. What you sell in coaching that I found and why it's powerful is you sell people on their own values, their own desires, both now and in the future. If you want to be better in the future, you need to master the lessons of the experience you're having now. Would you agree?
You have to master the lessons of the experience. Say that again, one more time.
Yeah. If you want to be the best you can be in the future, you have to actually learn the lessons from the experiences you're having this week.
Yes, of course.
Most people do nothing to actually reflect on those lessons. And the way that your brain learns, and it puts that connection together, everybody went to school at one point. If you wanted to do well, you had to study. And the thing is, if you study real quick, you cram, you might do well on the test, but then you forget everything, right? I didn't forget everything from my degree. I can go back through undergraduate psychology and remember almost everything because I listened to them when they said, and this is like really powerful because they teach us this and we pretend like they don't teach us this in school. When you learn something in life, you have a lesson. The best way to make it a part of who you are in your future and to guide you is you have the experience, then you reflect on that experience, and then you reflect on that experience over and over again. And so if somebody is falling into that trap where they're constantly thinking about work, the reason they're able to do that is because they've escaped the costs, the pain of seeing the future consequences of not becoming the person who walks in. Like when you talk about William, I don't have a child yet, but I can promise you, the second a child starts screaming, the immediate thing that goes through my head is I will command calm, presence, and peace, and I will nurture this child, every child. And if my brain ever says to me, I'm going to step out of here, I'm going to get out of here, I know that's the normal thing. That's what's going to happen. But I just know my principle. I'm like, great, that's resistance. That's where I grow. That's where I get stronger. And so the first play is you got to start reflecting. But you can't just reflect on work, right? You can't just add a work reflection. And I've seen in your company, you guys have fantastic skills at reflecting on work. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're amazing at it. So you're getting better at it. But if you look at the rest of your life, every single day and week, I reflect on the main areas of my life. And so I reflect on my relationship with Bridget constantly. I reflect on my learning and development constantly outside of work. I reflect on, for me, my number one thing, I'm not above any of these things. I learned that I got really good at entering peaceful state, but actually driving myself from there, like letting a peaceful, relaxed person lead the whole day, that for me is my edge. That's what I'm working on. But you got to get a weekly reflection. And you also have to start asking questions about what would it really mean? Like, what does my wife really need? What do my children really need now and in the future? And when I look at Bridget, I think, oh my gosh, she needs someone who's so attentive, so present, so clearly there with her that it's almost painful for me when I need to do something else. To come film this podcast, I'm so excited to be here with you. I love hanging out with you. I could hang out with you all the time. I respect you. And you're fun. But man, I miss her. And it's because I've developed this identity around her. And I can't get addicted to her, right? It'd be the same problem. So I do the same thing in every category, but I got to reflect on my whole life. So I would pick up, for me, it's Brendon Burchard's High Performance Planner. It's comprehensive, but I would do that daily and weekly. And in that reflection, I would always look for the different areas of my life and recognize which area am I avoiding or kind of being complacent in. And that would be the first step. It's changed my life. I've been doing it for over 10 years, and it's made sure that I don't ever neglect an area and I don't get addicted to one.
Well, that's great timing because I told you the other day, I just bought that high performance planner that you recommended. It just came in. I haven't done, I'm going to start it next week or on Sunday. I'll do my weekly starting on Sunday. That's pretty cool. Everybody, we're going to include a link to that below. Go check it out. High performance planner. That's what it's called. I just bought one. It's really neat. I opened it up. And I filled out I started the monthly. I didn't finish it yet, but it is very reflective. Now, I'm going to be real honest with you, and I need your feedback on this because you've done this for a long time. And someone else listening feels the same way. Maybe I shouldn't justify this because this is how I feel. Maybe someone doesn't feel like this. How do I find time to reflect? Because I started looking at some of the questions in the high performance planner of like some of the daily stuff or the weekly stuff. And I'm like, man, this is going to take 60 minutes a week, or this is going to take 20 minutes a day. I don't know how long it takes per day to do it. I haven't done a day yet. how do you find, well, maybe not find time, because you can make time, but like, how do you, how valuable, I mean, obviously reflection is valuable just based on what you said, and I don't do it. And that's very interesting, because we tell clients all the time, they're like, well, I don't know what creative to make, or I'm launching this meta ads campaign, and I don't know what I should be building next. I'm like, well, did you analyze the campaign from the last 7 days? So this is actually a little bit of eating of my own medicine. I'm like, well, you need to analyze the performance of the previous campaign now and how it went, what was good, what went bad, anecdotally, what could you glean from this? And then based on that, make the decision on what you believe the next week should look like so you can make changes and adapt. And this sounds like the same thing, but it's not advertising campaigns. This is reflection of your actual other key areas of your life. And so I make time for that. But what do you say to someone that's like, ain't no way I have 15, 20 minutes in the morning to do this?
Yeah, I would look at you and I would just say, okay, how much of your future leadership potential would you like to release today? Would you like to let go of? Like, to be blunt with you, I would look at that and I would say, especially people who are people of faith, I'd be like, will you reflect on your scripture? Like, and it could be any faith. Do you take time with, like, and do that, right? This is a piece of that. To me, this is a spiritual quality, is to reflect on who we are and who we're becoming in all areas. And so I'd look at them and I'd say, that's the real cost. And the reason I would say that to them is because their mindset is efficiency and achievement. Well, here's what you're losing. Here's what you won't achieve. But I'll tell you what'll keep you into it? That's the real question. How does this become a habit you'll never let go of? And the reason for me, I can say that, is when I first started doing this, I got the high performance planner when Brendan first created it.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. I filled it out and then I stopped doing it. I filled it out and then I stopped doing it. But it wasn't until I recognized that if I wanted to be someone who led people through tremendous growth, I need to be a role model for that. People don't follow what you tell them to do. They only do that if you have a lot of money or something they want. If somebody has something,
or if you have a gun to their head,
yeah, right?
Either one, a lot of money or a gun.
It's so good. A lot of money or a gun.
Two things motivate.
It's huge, because if you have, and this is a good point for everybody listening here, one of the common pieces of advice that I think is not wisdom is only listen to people who are where you want to be. That is a mistake. Because a lot of times what happens is people, they get to something and they usually mean they have money or they've built the business. And what is true is, don't listen to people who don't know what they're talking about. But you got to develop the ability to figure out where people from different domains can instruct you. I learned this from Jordan Peterson. You learn from triangulation. Where 3 different people from 3 different areas say the same thing, that's a great thing. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring this up is because when we're stepping in to do this reflection, I started doing it, and then I started realizing there's moments I started to see. These are the decisions I made that I wouldn't have made if I wasn't reflecting actively on my life. Mm-hmm. And once you start to see that and they're meaningful, like a good example, I just got engaged at freaking Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. You saw the video.
I saw the video. Can you share about that? That's just that's a moonshot of a moment. So crazy cool.
Literally, it was the most life-changing moment for me, because I saw that the woman I love was celebrated. Our engagement was celebrated with more love than I could ever imagine. 3,000 plus people, another 3,000 virtual. Everybody's screaming. And here's what happened. I'm at Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny event with the love of my life, and I knew I wanted to propose. I'm ready to marry her for sure. A week before we went to that event, I didn't have the ring. Do you know what got me to remind myself I needed the ring? I was focused on something else. My planner.
Your reflection.
My reflection, and then my coaching session. I reflected as like, I'm ready to marry Bridget. I wrote that in my planner. And then I stepped into my coaching session on Monday. We were talking about something else that we were building. And it was just one quick question. It's like, so what's the status of the proposal? I'm going to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. I don't have a ring. I might want to propose there. I didn't plan that.
I need to overnight this thing.
Yeah, I did. In 3 days, I secured a ring, right? I'm an action taker once I realized it. But I truly believe if it wasn't for the planner and then that coaching session, I would have missed it. And I get to Tony Robbins' event and I have a ring in my bag, and that's all that I needed, because I started telling people how much I loved her and they saw our love. And all these people were like, are you going to propose to her? And I'm like, I have a ring. And I showed him the ring and we got excited. And long story short, at 2 a.m., I'm sitting there looking at the love of my life. She's dancing. We just had this amazing relationship intervention. And then I get the opportunity where I look at her and I just see it's time. And I get down on one knee. I'm lost in her. And I see my future. I see the woman I'm going to lift up forever. I'm going to meet her needs so soulfully. She can't believe it every single day. And then bam, Tony Robbins is there and he's hugging us and he's kissing us on the forehead.
And then you guys look like ants because that guy's huge, man.
It's huge. And he's laughing. But what was so cool is that for me, I know I'll do my planner and I'll take that sacred time and I'll honor it. That has become an honorary discipline in my life because I know there's moments like that I miss all the time. And I don't miss them when I check in on them, and then I have structure on it, just like you do a business. The people who come and work with you, they succeed. Mm-hmm. And the reason they succeed is because they come into you and you have a system that rewards the right action, but also the right reflection. They're now getting reflective. They're now getting really interested in what they're building. And so they hit achievements. We've heard them through your podcast that most people will never hit in their life from that practice. You can have that in all areas of your life. It'll just take time for you to start to see it. And I bet that's true for your clients sometimes too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting to think of this. You know, sometimes I get so focused on, our business and the world that we live in, and I don't necessarily take that step back and say, like, how do I reflect on these different areas and prioritize that? Something you were saying earlier was you're talking about principles, you're talking about values, and you're like, you already know the decision that you'll make when you have a child, when the child is 13 and a half months old, screaming the head off, they can't be consoled, or it seems like they can't be. And instead of your brain might go to, I got to get out of here. Like it's going crazy, but you're like, you've made this decision already that I will have a sense of calm and peace and sensitivity to that, like something along those lines. So how do you, if you want to seek fulfillment and you want to get there, you just talked about you make the decision through the non-negotiables or the values or principles. I don't know the words you were using. How do you create those, or what's the first step? Is that a step in determining that fulfillment or deciding who you're going to become on the path to fulfillment? I don't know if I'm asking the right question.
Yeah, no,
I'm forming as we're live here.
This is perfect. So in my coaching, do you want to just do a little coaching?
Yeah.
When people step in, one of the first sessions I take them through is a clarity session. But this isn't the same kind of clarity you're thinking of. We've already done the goals. They already have those. We've already had their focus, their focal points on what they want to create in their life. I help them expand that. I make sure it's not just business and achievement, but that's always there. Then we go to a clarity session, and it's more about identity. And so the first thing that I have people do is I have them identify and pick a couple words that are going to be their guideposts for who they're going to be. Words that describe the best of who they are in a given domain. Mm-hmm. And so I would ask you, I'll just ask with Kelsey, right? Or even at home, what are 3 words that describe the best of who you want to be?
Intentional, kind, goofy.
I love that, right? It's so fun. And so you're intentional, you're kind, and you're goofy. And then what I always challenge people to do here is, this really is the step. And I do this. For me, like Bridget's a good example. You take those words, intentional, kind, and goofy. And then you go through each one of them. You take the time with this and you just say, why, Josh, do you want to be intentional at home?
Because when you're intentional, that's usually where this is the performance side of me coming out. When you're intentional, you make progress in whatever area you're being intentional about.
Sure. That makes really good sense. Like we could be intentional there. Why do you want to be kind?
The world becomes a better place.
I agree. Your
Lives
home becomes
change.
better.
Yep.
So good. And then why do you want to be goofy?
Life's too short not to be.
I agree, right? There's benefits to that. You live longer if you're goofy. Laughter is one of the most healing things we can do. So these are great words. So then what I would do when they create those words is I want that anchored in. For me with Bridget, I literally have a jingle.
Oh, you do? Oh, I love this. I want to hear the level of energy you do this because you told me about this.
Okay, so literally every morning, so 3 times throughout my day, I have my 3 words for Bridget that come up. And I want to really emphasize treat this with the level of care and intention that you do your business. So, or your meta ads headlines, right? These are important. So it's like, when I use it, I literally think through, I used to be passionate. That was my main word that drove me. But what I realized was she loved that. But what I realized that she needed, some skills in coaching I learned, was she needed peaceful before passionate could come. She needed 2 or 3 minutes of peaceful. Then we could be passionate, right? And so for me, I have these 3 words. My words for her were peaceful, present, and passionate. That's how I want to be. So every time I come into the room with her, I've conditioned peaceful, present, passionate. And then I started singing a little jingle, and I'm like, I'm a peaceful, I'm a present, I'm a passionate babe. Hey, because we call each other babe. And I'm walking around the house daily, right? Alarm goes off, 9 a.m. I'm a peaceful, I'm a present, I'm a passionate babe. And I look at her and she looks at me and she's like, I'm a peaceful, I'm a present, I'm a passionate babe, right? And we do this. You want to talk about goofy?
I love that, dude. I love that.
You know what we don't do though? And this is equally important. Never, when that happens, do we go, I'm a peaceful, I'm a present, I'm a passionate babe. Ever.
Yeah, I got in trouble for this at the event. So I got to tell this story because this is relevant to what you just said. Our entire team can quote our entire company mission. Most people, that's not the case. If you go right now and you ask all of your team members and you say, hey, what's our company mission? 99% of people could not say that their team would quote it back in uniformity in the exact same wording. Most people don't have a mission. Well, our mission is to educate, entertain, and empower every e-commerce business owner on the planet with unparalleled excellence. That is ours. Every Monday morning, we have a director's meeting, we have a team meeting. And when the team meeting and everyone's all hands on, we're all in there, we open up and we have people zooming in and we have people in person. And I'll say our mission, and then everyone in unison, up until a while ago, until I met Mark, would go, and it would be kind of goofy. We would say, I would be like, our mission is, and then everyone would be like, to educate, entertain, and empower every e-commerce business on the planet with unparalleled excellence. And then we'd all clap at the exact same time, and Zoom is laggy, so everybody's clapping at different times. And so we would all say it kind of like, I don't know if it's apathetically, but we would all say it like, maybe sarcastically is the word. We would say it in that. And anyway, Mark finds out that we're saying it like this. And he's like, do you actually believe what you're saying? Because you guys sound like you really don't care. I'm like, that's so interesting, because the energy that you bring behind the words that you say really, really matter. And so the week right after that, I end up filming a video of us saying it with high levels of energy, and Jacob standing on the table of the conference room. And I texted Mark the video. I said, things have changed. Because but there was a different level of energy when we did it. And I think that there's so much truth to that. And you need to, it's unbelievable. Yeah, if you were to say, I'm a peaceful, I'm a passionate, I forget the third one.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But I love this too, because what happens is, and I'm gonna speak to something that I think everyone around you would really benefit from here. One of the great superpowers, when you know that you're creating a place for true development, people are way more sensitive. And this is a really important topic. People are sensitive to everything. They're sensitive to the impact that they actually have on the people around them. I am well aware that I don't know what day will be the day that every person in my family I have an influence plan for. They have a plan in my mind. Their number one goals. I never know what moment will be the moment that I can have maximum impact on them. But the second I walk in and I'm not sensitive to what's happening in that moment, I shut it down. I move them away from that growth. So when you talk about this, I know if I do that, I start desensitizing myself to that mission. When I hear your mission, like I listened to your podcast on the way over here multiple times, and I listened to it and I thought, wow, you could change the world, because that's how it happens. You actually build a mission that you believe in. You do it in this area where you're really heavily niched and you can help people very reliably, very powerfully. And then over time, people invite you around the world to tell people how you did it, and you start impacting everyone. Your one little story becomes the story that impacts so many people. And I see that for you, and I'm like, that's amazing. And then I ask, why do so many of us divorce ourselves from that impact? And we do it daily with those little things. And so I had to work on this. I grew up in academia. Most people are very sarcastic. It's a way to demonstrate wit. I can play the sarcasm game all day. I can play wit all day. I can do those things. But I recognized that I was desensitizing the moment. And when people hit a moment where they start asking meaningful questions about life, they become real sensitive. They become real open. They become really, truly connected to things around them. So I'm grateful that you guys stepped into that. And I'm grateful for that wisdom so that I know I'll never do that with Bridget. I'll never do that with my children. And I now know, right, those 3 words, they guide everything. So then, as soon as the challenge comes, right, that's my same thing for children. So when a child starts crying on a flight, happened on the way to a recent event we were at, I don't go, right?
Yeah.
Why are they crying? I don't go, what are they doing? I immediately go, oh, yes. And I recognize that's my moment. That's where I'm building it. By the time I already have so many reps with children, put them in front of me. Give me 25 of them crying, screaming, because I've built the reps, but I know I'm building the identity. And every time I think, peaceful, present, I'm speaking to their nervous system. I'm bringing calm. I almost literally look at them as like that little child. I'm going to try to catch them and I'm just going to give peace to them. And you will watch your world change so radically if this is your approach, but you have to go to that. And so if you want to get started wherever you want to change, those 3 words, that's what we want. And then we want so many problems, right? We want so many times where it's hard to be that. And we want to honor those problems because they're literally the way that you build the person you want to be. And I promise you, there is nobody on this planet who could be more present with Bridget. That's my mission. That's the achiever in me, right? I want to be the best at it. But the thing is that I know that every day I'm conditioning and practicing that, she will have a 10 out of 10 deeply present person no matter what life circumstances come our way, because that's who I am now. That's that identity lever that people talk about mindset all the time. It's who I am, and I'm grateful for that.
Something that you said at the event that really stuck out to me is that I forget. You could correct me if I'm wrong in some of this, or actually more like maybe elaborate and embellish just a little bit. So like something you asked was, how do you grow in an area, any area of your life? Literally any area, how do you grow? And well, in order to grow, you have to overcome challenges and adversity and problems and issues, things that you don't grow without it. You don't just go to the gym and suddenly like, oh, I'm ripped. No, your body you have to endure mental pain, physical pain, saying no to unhealthy food all the time, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that growth journey if we're looking at that. And so you reframe things. It's like, well, do we all desire to grow? And everyone's like, well, yeah, everyone desires to grow, right? And how do we grow? Well, we grow by overcoming challenges and adversity and problems. And then you framed it, and I really loved this. Well, then isn't a problem a gift? Because if you desire to grow, and the only way that you grow is by stretching into land of uncomfortability and going through problems and challenges and trials in order to get to that future self, the place of becoming that is a journey, but to go to the next level and continue growing, you have to encounter that. Is it not a gift because it now allows you the opportunity to grow? And that was probably one of the greatest takeaways that I had from listening to you. That was really awesome. I loved that because I think that it reframes a child screaming on a plane. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people will be like, well, that's not going to help me grow in any capacity. It's like, well, it's going to help you grow in maybe your patience, or it's going to help you grow in your kindness and how you respond to that, or your facial features and what they look like when something's not working the way you want it to work. And I just want to say that was probably one of the greatest takeaways that I had. I love that a problem is when you encounter adversity or a problem, you can do one of two things. You can say, woe is me, I'm Eeyore, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. You could sigh about it. You could be really upset about it. You could say like, this is a gift for me to overcome to push me on that path of becoming. And I really loved that. I just wanted to share that with you.
I'm really glad too, because that's probably the framework I like the most. I call it the love your problems framework.
Okay. I love that.
I think
I'm gonna steal it. I'll credit you every time though.
dude, share it with the
The
world.
love your problems framework. Okay.
And this is actually, as entrepreneurs, this is really important, right? Because we market a lot of times to solving problems. And so people actually come and purchase from us to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Even when it's like fun things they buy, a lot of times they're trying to solve a problem. And the thing is, this is where I get excited about, especially not just e-commerce. E-commerce is one place, but the marketplace in general. The way we purchase things changes our life. You could purchase, like I know one of your clients does like Disney nostalgic apparel, like they're beautiful, right? I could go purchase that because I'm feeling bad and I want to feel better. That's not a great idea. That's not a great idea at all. It's why people purchase a lot of things called compensatory spending. Marketers know this. I could also go to the site, have little things throughout that site where I go purchase it, and I purchase it to bring magic into my home. A whole different thing. The problem that I'm facing here is that we're starting to lose the magic at home. And I need to remind my children that life is magical. And I need to remind myself that life is magical. So I go to that store and I see that and I feel that in the marketing. I love marketing for this reason. You actually change the world with the way you market because it's the environment that people adapt to.
Preach, man. Preach.
I love it.
The message you're delivering to the world.
It is. And the thing is when you're there and they go to the store and maybe they read the founder's story and the founder has something in there where it's like, I wanted to always remind myself X, Y, or Z, good thing. Life is magical, especially during the hard times. And you start to see the reviews. I purchased this beautiful sweater for my mom when she found out she had cancer. Those are real things that happen. Mm-hmm. And now every time I walk in, I remind myself life is magical. And that's our reminder together. And it makes it even more real. It builds that. That's exciting to me. And so when you think about love your problems, you're like, when we solve problems and I mean this, business to me is a spiritual game. Business to me is, if you want to make a difference in the world, think about how your business can be sold as an opportunity for growth for everyone in front of you. And everything you sell can be used that way. And so love your problems. Whatever problem you're solving, love it. I love that this problem exists. I love that we build a solution for it. And I love that the way we solve for that, we can make this problem not something that you should never have, but something that as you solve it, it allows you to become who you're meant to be. And I walk into the workplace at Panera Bread. I remember this. You talk about mission, values, vision. They had a card for us to learn. I knew the whole thing. People walk in, I was obsessed with it. I learned it because your A players, I want to remind people, your true A players in achievement, they are not going to bemoan. They're never going to bemoan the mission. They're going to fall in love with it. They're going to be touched by it. They're going to be like, how can I expand it? That's where they're going to come from. And if you love problems, that's all your A players eventually will love problems. My suggestion to you is make sure you know who you want to become and you make the decision that I can use. And I believe this, any problem put in front of me can be used for my own growth and development. It's my job to draw the connection of how I make that happen. And I can do that with any problem you ever give me. And so can you. And we can teach that to people.
I think that having this North Star of your values and asking the question, who am I becoming? What I really love about this is that it is agnostic to the circumstances. It doesn't matter the circumstance that you don't have control over. You choose what you decide to, how you decide to behave or how you decide to speak based on those values or based on the North Star of what is leading you toward that fulfillment. So I love this framework because it means that it doesn't matter the problem, it doesn't matter the challenge you're up against. If you can overcome the thing and you will grow because of it if you stay true to these values internally. And then using that as a North Star, not dollars, revenue, profit, and achievement. And I really like that. But through this, this is how I think about it. If the mission is so great and you believe in it and with all of your heart and all of your team do, then the achievement will happen as a byproduct of the mission being so strong that is the thing that allows you to overcome every obstacle. Would you agree with that or no?
I love this because I want to, and I would say it can. I don't think it's true. And I think this is the hard part, is that you can absolutely go out, achieve, make a ton of money. This is where Alex Hormozy is actually like, he's got a really great point that he's taught the world, which is that you can be miserable and be wildly achievement oriented. You can go succeed, make tons of money. You can have great products. You can actually make a huge impact in other people's lives and not be fulfilled. And the same thing can happen with fulfillment. You mentioned at the beginning of this podcast something to the effect of, a lot of us are achievement oriented. That's not most of the world. So I had the pleasure of teaching a lot of undergraduate students.
Interesting.
No, most people,
I only work with business owners. So it makes sense. That is not most people. So I bucketed that.
Huge. And even in your business owners, when they say they're achievement motivated, right? When they come to work with you, that's the environment. So they're going to say that. But if you get down to their daily actions and behaviors, a lot of times you'll find what's driving them is actually moving back towards comfort, or it's actually just, a lot of times they're achievement motivated because they don't want to go to work. They don't want a W-2. That's like their biggest fear in the world is like a job. It's my favorite coaching question. What would happen if you had to get a job for 6 months? And people are like, I will never. Right? Entrepreneurs are like, I could never do it. It'd be the worst thing ever. And I like this because when I teach college students, I ask them, and we talk about this. A lot of times people will become motivated for their values, but achievement, they kind of drop it off. It's not one of them. And that is a mistake as well. Beware people who preach fulfillment or mission driven produces the achievement. That's only true if you honor everything it takes, the problems that are there with achievement. You could be so mission driven, but if you take the wrong strategy, for example, and part of your mission driven is just the feeling, it's not actually testing, you could go out and you could lose money on Meta constantly. You could have bad strategy. And so I'd say what you said is true only if part of the mission is to honor whatever challenges the game requires. The achievement itself has to be an important part, and that's where you nail culture. Our vision and our values, they are real, they matter, that's our North Star. The star in front of us, the achievement, whatever it takes, that matters just as much. And you've been successful in business because you've been obsessed with, how do we actually get this to work? How do we actually solve the problem? You can make the same mistake when chasing fulfillment, where you become, in a way, spiritual but not grounded. And that's a mistake as well.
And I feel that we've grown so much as a business because you can't, I don't believe, I mean, like you just said, you can't have, really it can't be binary of like, you could, one or the other, it will fall apart. It needs to be both of these. The question is how much. If you could balance fulfillment and achievement in this great way, like that's awesome. But like, I think for us, we have both, but I haven't clearly defined fulfillment in our business. I have to a little percentage degree, but I have not done it in the way that I think will drive us further than we are now. And I think that that's like just a reflection point for me. Maybe I need to start my reflection later tonight, and that'll be the first thing in that. But man, this is really awesome. I hope you guys really have been enjoying listening to Dr. Mark Matthews here. Every time I talk to you is just so much fun. I love it. And I know some people listen to this podcast. They're like, I just want the tactics. I just want to know the next thing that I need to do. But this is the stuff that so many skip, but is the thing that will make your life much greater. And you as an entrepreneur, just like, maybe we have to define what greater is, right? There's probably depth in that word, but I think that like my perspective is, everything stems from you down in a business standpoint. If you're looking on the business end of this, and if you're completely unfulfilled, it's a long journey. And I think that this kind of stuff just makes you not only a better entrepreneur, but a better human to start to think about this. Most people listening right now have probably not asked the questions you've asked me. And I'm grateful that I even am sitting across this table from you and I'm able to ask the questions, and we're about to go have lunch for a couple hours and there will be more questions, and I'm grateful that I'm able to do this. But here's what I would love to do. First, I think it'd be really interesting and awesome to do some kind of a workshop with you where we have exercises and ways that we could help people begin to map this journey and process of what they should do next. I think that has to happen. Team, I know you're listening. I did it on live air. So we're going to have to make that happen. But I would ask anybody listening, if you're listening on Spotify or you're watching on YouTube right now, go drop a comment and say, we want to workshop with Dr. Mark Matthews, and maybe we'll get you a link to that. But we definitely need to do something, because I would love to actually get into what is like a tangible next steps for this, because I think some people listening at this point, just like myself, are inspired to change something about how we operate. We desire more. We want to feel more fulfillment. And there are actual steps and things like you could practically do. Like you just told me, well, do you reflect? No. Okay, well, that's a good step, right? You probably have things around ritual or weekly rituals or like some steps to do. What do you say we do a workshop?
I'm so in, and I love this because one of my core parts of my mission is to make sure we make fulfillment a way of life, because I truly believe that, honestly, I believe my parents would be here if somebody had came into their life and helped them do that. And they did try to achieve their way out as caregivers and as workers. And so when I look at that, it's not always life or death, but honestly, for most people listening, there's somebody in your life right now where if you decide to make fulfillment a way of life, you can actually become the person that changes theirs. And I can say that with absolute zero reservation, because I watch people decide they're going to become the most fulfilled person in the room, and it changes everyone around them. And so I'd love to begin this journey, do this workshop, and help people tangibly make this part of a way of life. And it's not like you're signing up for, tons and tons of spiritual journey or crazy things all the time. It's making it little practices that actually move the needle, and it becomes something that, just like everything in business, you decide as a priority and it just becomes consistent, and you'll love that you did that for yourself.
Are you telling me we're not going to walk on coals?
If you want to walk on coals, I can call my friend Tony Robbins. Just kidding. Full disclaimer, we're not friends yet, but I would definitely recommend walk on coals. I've done it myself. It's very fun.
Hey, we'll do a virtual Zoom walk on coals. And if you do it off camera, we'll never know if you did or not. Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. I would say this, Mark, if anybody was like, I really like this guy, I'd like to learn more about him, see what he's up to, what he's about. Maybe I want to reach out to him. What's the best way people can do that?
No problem. So if you want to start a relationship with me, the first place, I would go to Instagram or Facebook and look at Face My Fear.
Face My Fear.
At Face My Fear.
I love that.
My handle's literally consistent with my values. And all you got to do, just DM me. Just literally DM me, coach, and we'll get right to you. My team will get to you. And we'll reach out. Our intention is always the same thing. Help you get the resources that you need to become the most inspiring, fulfilling, and honestly, influential person you can be for you, your family, your business, and your team.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you, man. Hey, guys, you've been listening to the E-Commerce Alley podcast. This was a really enjoyable session, and we'll see you in the next episode.